Welcome. Thank you guys all for joining our second Finance Friday. Oh, here we go. Just gonna admit Oscar. Perfect timing. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about how money works. That's coming from the Primerica book that we were given, and as we mentioned, it's there in the attachments in this meeting. And this is an awesome resource. I really like the book. And our sponsors today, of course, we have Career and Transfer Services with Red Lake Nation College, also co-sponsored with the Extension Program, and we're working with Primerica, represented by Ebony and Oscar, who we're glad to have this partnership with and to continue. Some announcements. Again, and for anyone new to the meeting joining now, this is recorded, but we only share the presentation portion. And for the prizes, there will be prizes given out throughout the session today. When we call prizes, there'll be an Echo Dot a Rocket book, and you get to choose between different types of Rocketbook notebooks. And also our RLNC swag. If you win the swag, you get to choose from, you see those top 4 pictures there, you can choose from any one of those prizes. And I do have a survey also for at the end of the event. I'll share that with you. We would love to hear your feedback so that we know how we can improve or better serve you guys. So first, I'm just going to introduce, because some of you guys know Ebony from last time, some of you may be new. She is from the Suquamish Tribal Nation, residing in the Pacific Northwest on Port Madison Indian Reservation. She's very passionate about making financial education accessible to Indian country and being a strong role model for tribal youth in particular. So we're really happy to work with her. And for Oscar, he is a first-generation immigrant from El Salvador, and he is also very passionate about financial education. He's very motivated to help communities and families build a very solid and sustainable foundation for their future. And we're also very grateful to be working with Oscar. Both Ebony and Oscar work for Primerica and grew their passion for financial wellness and literacy through connecting with others, like Red Lake Nation College and all the people they work with through their companies.
So, all right, awesome. So if you guys do have the presentation, like the book actually pulled out, right, we just want to go ahead and just flip to page 10, but you guys can just follow along here, right? The main one that we're going to go ahead and talk about just on that specific page, right, is the rule of 72. Now, before I do get started on covering this part here, right, I definitely just want to go ahead and just let you guys know in regards to this book itself, there's a lot of different concepts and different things. It's a 32-page book. Ideally, when I first just in general, like a couple years back, like when they first told me, oh, you got to read a book in order for you to like get ahead with your money, I was like, man, I don't even like reading. And then they told me it was 32 pages. I was like, okay, that's doable. And they told me the majority of his pictures. I was like, all right, perfect. This is even better, right? So, so yeah, the majority of the booklet is pictures. As you guys can see, the font's pretty big, right? But one of the concepts we're going to go ahead and teach you guys is the rule of 72. Now, this is known as the banker's rule, the rule that the bankers don't want you to know about. And when it comes down to this part here, right, this is something very, very important because it can work against you or it can work for you. And when it comes down to the rule 72, right, just like how it says here, it's your money will double at the certain point determined by the dividing the 72 by the interest rate that you're obtaining. Again, that could work for you if it's growing money, or it can work against you if you're in debt. So in this example, right, these are 3 separate accounts. This account starts at 3%, this one's at 6%, this one's at 12%. They all start at the same amount though. So when you grab the number 72 divided by 3, it equals 24. So that same $10,000 that you see here on the screen will double every 24 years. So after 48 years, this $10,000 will convert into 40,000. At a 6% rate of return, 72 divided by 6 equals 12. So that means that same 10,000 will double every 12 years. But look at the difference. You would think because it's a double the amount of interest, you would think it's double the amount of money. It's actually 4 times the amount. But look at that 12%, doubles every 6 years. And look at that difference, guys. So this is what I want you guys to know about. This is why it's called the banker's rule. Banks have access to 12% accounts, but they don't want to tell us about it. If you want to put in the chat, what do typical banks give out nowadays for your savings? Feel free to put that in there. What does your bank give out today? Put that in there. Put that in the chat just so I can see you guys are paying attention, right? But anyways, when it comes down to this aspect here, they'll gladly give you 3%, if that, if they get to profit off the rest. So they'll gladly give you the $40,000 if they get to keep the other 2.5 mil. Think about that. Because when I first learned that, and I asked my mom, I was like, hey mom, where do you bank? She told me. And the only thing that was stopping me from me punching the person, the teller, right, was the fact that I was going to catch a charge in the big old glass that's in between me and that person, right? That got me mad, to be completely honest with you guys. My mom works really hard for her money, and I'm sure all you guys do as well. And I'm sure you guys can relate. You know, when it comes down to you working hard for your money, and if you would have known better, you probably do better too. So again, this is one of the first things that we do cover with people, the aspect of the rule of 72, because this is something that, again, we are not being taught today. And this is something that should be taught. As you guys can see there, right, a little quote that's right there, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. So when it comes down to that aspect, that 12%, what's happening here, that's just that compound interest that just keeps doubling and keeps going in that favor. Now, again, keep in mind, in all these accounts, the money's just sitting there. No more money is being added into it. So it's just kind of just piling up on top of it. So again, this is just one of the things that we do touch up on. And the next thing we're going to go ahead and cover right now is on page 17. So if you guys are following along in the book, it'll be page 17. I'm going to flip through these. So this part here, what we're going to be covering is the importance of life insurance. Now, when it comes down to this part here, a lot of people, they have a lot of these different things from what you're going to see right now. And really just ask yourself these next couple questions, right? How much is your car worth? You insure it? Probably do. 30, 40, $50,000 asset. And obviously if something happens to the car, you want to make sure it's taken care of, right? It has a service, all that type of stuff. And obviously there's more included with car insurance too, so that's a huge benefit on having it. Some states like in Virginia, right, it's mandatory that you need to have it. How much is your house worth? You insure it? You probably do. 150, 200 plus thousand asset, right? And obviously if something happens under your control, somebody else, Mother Nature, it happens, right? The freaking a branch could fall into the head or onto the roof and then damage it, whatever it is. And next thing you know, you good thing you have insurance. Why? Because if something happens, you want to make sure it's covered. Now, how much is your life worth? Probably a lot more than the car and your house combined. Now, can you afford not to have to insure your life? That's probably the case. Now, in most situations, when people think about insurance, life insurance itself, it does have a funny name. Because when you really think about it, right? Something happens to the car will be serviced and it'll be taken care of. You can replace the car. Something happens to the house, they repair the house. What about your life? Can it be replaced? Can it be like repaired? No. So life insurance, what it is, it's income protection. If anything were to happen prematurely, what it's for is to cover your annual income for a minimum 10 to 15 years. Personally, when I first got introduced to the company, I thought life insurance was only to cover funeral expenses, which averages about $15,000 to $20,000. When they told me it's supposed to cover your annual income for 10 years, that's a huge difference. And if you already knew that, great. So again, when it comes down to this aspect here, one other thing I also do want to cover as well, one thing I have bumped into a lot is a lot of people, they think that having life insurance just through the job is good enough. But there's a lot of what ifs when it comes down to just having life insurance through the job. Why is that? Because it's not portable, meaning that if you leave that specific employment by your decision or somebody else's, it does not, it doesn't, it's not portable. You can't take it with you unless if your other company that you're working for has it as well. In some cases, they may be paying very little money for the amount of coverage that they do have. When you actually take a look at their policy, it may be 1 or 2 times their salary, monthly salary, not annual salary. But regardless, it's typically not enough coverage on what they have. And in most cases, they're overpaying for the amount of coverage that they do have. Why is that? Because it's a group rate. And what do I mean by that? It's an average of everybody else that's working with you. You may be a healthy individual, you may not be a smoker. And if other people in your department they do smoke, you will still be quoted as a smoker. I'm not sure if some of you guys knew that, but that's just something very important to know about. So again, that's just some of the things that we do talk about. But in regards to the whole entire concept behind the plan that we do teach the people, right? The behind the whole entire financial planning aspect, this is one of the key fundamental things that we do teach to people. And this is called the theory of decreasing your responsibility. In a sense, is how life works, right? In the earlier years, you're gonna need a lot of coverage. And why is that? Because there's young children, high debt, there's a house mortgage. And this part of an individual's life, a loss of an income would be devastating. You may not have all the money that you need to have saved up. First starting planning, first like getting just graduating from school, getting all this stuff in order. You're just trying to you're just trying to learn about all this type of stuff. But ideally, once you do reach the age of retirement, at that point, your necessity for life insurance is going to go down because now the children are going to be grown, the debt's going to be lowered, and the mortgage is most likely going to be paid off. What you need at this point is retirement income. So, in the aspect of life insurance itself, it's only during this period of time here. And that's why we provide individuals, we suggest to them for them to get something that's called term life insurance. And they invest that difference. So, insurance isn't meant to be for your whole entire life. It's only meant during this period right here. So then that while you're building up those assets for retirement, you're insured. So if something does happen, may the universe, God forbid, right, that something does happen, we want to make sure that that foundation of the household continues to keep moving. And what is the foundation? Your income. A lot of individuals believe that their biggest asset that they own is either the cars or the houses that they own. But what pays for the car? Your income. What pays for the for the house, the mortgage? Your income. What pays for your insurance? What pays for all this stuff? Your income. So when it comes down to that, right, the biggest asset we currently own right now is the income. So again, in this part of the life here, the need for the life insurance is at an all-time high, but we're also preparing people with those accounts that you guys saw earlier, right? 12%, 6%. We're showing them on how to build up that asset so by the time they do make it to the retirement age, they can walk away with some money. They don't have the necessity to have the life insurance anymore. So that's just a couple of the things we want to go ahead and cover there. And this is actually the most exciting part I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about right now. If you guys are already excited, that's awesome. But this is the most exciting part. This is the time value of money. This is what got me excited. And honestly, don't feel like as if because from what you guys are about to see right now, you missed the boat. It's never too late to start. When people tell me, oh, I may have started a little later, XYZ, whatever it is, it's like, no, the best time to start is right now, regardless of what you're about to see right now. But the whole point is if you may be in a different, like, regardless, the point is that you may know somebody that may be in the situation I'm about to explain to you guys right now. Because what I'm about to show you guys right now is two typical types of people. Individual A is somebody that sat down with somebody in Primerica, right? And they showed them the time value of money, and they were like, you know what? I'm willing to sacrifice these next couple of years so that I could put away some money. As you guys can see here, right? Individual A starts to contribute into that 12% account. and their annual payment that they're putting into their plan is $6,000. When you do the math, that's $500 a month. Now, as a 22-year-old, what do you $500 a month that you're putting away? I mean, hey, you know, I know a lot of people like having fun, right? And if you're taking away $500 from that a month, ooh, some people are like, I'm not willing to do that, Oscar. It's okay. But let me just go ahead and show you guys someone that did decide to delay the gratification. From 22 to the age of 29, they contributed $6,000 into this account. The amount that they contributed into the whole entire account is $48,000. That's how much money they put in from 22 to 29. Their money grew. They stopped contributing at 30, and they just let that money grow. Look at that money compound. Look at that. Look how it just keeps growing and growing and growing. By the age of 67, $2.2 million. Now, this person over here, individual B, right? They're like, you know what, Oscar? Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm supposed to party up in my 20s and then grind in my 30s. Okay? So it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? From 22 to 29, they invested no money at all. And again, it's okay. It's not wrong with that. But look at the difference though. They're contributing from 30 to the age of 67. That's 37 years that they're contributing into it. $6,000 a year. And at 30 years old, what do people typically have by then? A mortgage, a family, probably some car payments, about $100 a month. It's probably gonna be really hard at this point. But now look at the difference here. Look how much they contributed, $228,000. They're still gonna be able to retire. Don't get me wrong. $2 million, I mean, hey, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'm sure anybody would. But look at the difference on how much they contributed. It shows you that the difference is huge. And not only that, but see, the thing is that I know a lot of people here know someone that if they were to sit down with them and show them these numbers right here, imagine what we can do to the youth. Imagine what we can do for the next generation if we show them something like this. You see, growing up, nobody ever taught me anything like this. I was just fortunate that I happened to get caught here in the company when I was 19 years old. That's where I was fortunate, to be completely honest with you guys. But see, the thing is, right? Regardless, somebody needs to teach it to somebody. And see, that's the huge difference between what we have going on and what we're showing you here today. Everybody that's logged in here today is not logged in here just to be on here. And if you're paying attention, awesome. And if you're kind of just on here just to be on here, it's all good. You know, I appreciate you being on here, but I hope you learned something from what it is that we're showing you guys here today. Because at the end of the day, what it is that we're teaching people here is that we're showing them that they don't need to struggle anymore. You can teach that next generation that you don't have to lack anymore. And that's one of the biggest things that you can take from what it is that I'm showing you here. But in regards to the presentation, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if there's any questions you guys have in regards to you know, the information I just covered. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the screen share. Just go ahead and open it up for question for you guys, or if there's anything specific that you guys would like for me to cover.
Yeah, it looks like we have our first question from Valencia. She wants to know, what is the percentage of the rates?
Yeah, absolutely. So with every account, it's always different. Considering that the individual's ages always puts into factor as well. When someone's a little more closer to retirement age, we provide them more of a stable account, which could vary from 4% to 6%. Now, if an individual has more of a time frame, they're further away from retirement, they can take a little more risk, which means that they can have a little more aggressive account. Now, these aggressive accounts, by when we do hypotheticals for people, we can only show them up until 9%. We were just seeing some funds the other day that some accounts were doing 50%, some accounts were doing 75%, and some accounts were doing 83%. Now, again, I'm not one to tell you guys, hey, invest into this company today, and you guys are gonna get 83% back on your money. I can't dictate what the market's gonna do, but one thing I can tell you is that the longer time frame you're in the market, the more accurate numbers we can get. Why is that? Because history tends to repeat itself. And when history does tend to repeat itself, the market tends to go up and it goes down. But it works like a yo-yo, like, you know, like a yo-yo, like when you go up and down and stuff like that. But the thing is, the longer time frame you're in the market, it's like you using a yo-yo, but you're going up a fleet of steps, meaning that, like, it's gradually continuing to go up, but it's still going to keep going down throughout the time frame. But to answer your question, for a more stable account, it can vary from 4% to 6%. For a more aggressive fund, it could vary from like 7 to like 10%. The average account of our aggressive fund right now, for the past 5 years, it's been doing about 10%. But again, it just really just depends on the time frame the individual has, because that's always critical as well. I hope that answers your question.
Would you recommend someone to go aggressive when they're first starting off, or do you just want them to stay stable?
It depends. That's a great question, by the way. It depends on what their goal is with the money. Because if they have a long-term goal of it being a retirement fund, then that would be something that we would probably suggest. Go aggressive. But if you're going to be, if you're going to be needing that retirement fund in the next 10 to 12 years, we would probably suggest go more stable. Because again, it goes up and down. And if you're going to need that money in the next 10 years, we wouldn't tell you to take that little
I
dip.
was wondering, like, what would you suggest being the first step if you wanted to like get life insurance?
The first step, yeah, that's a great question, actually. So the first step would be just to sit down with an individual that could actually provide you with that type of assistance. One of the biggest things I always tell people is this: because if you decide to go with another life insurance company, they're typically never really going to ask you, they're never really going to teach you on how much coverage you need. They're always going to tell you how much coverage, how much coverage do you want, or how much coverage do you want to pay? Like how much do you want to pay per month, right? And ideally, what do people typically want? The highest amount of coverage and the lowest amount of premium that they're going to be paying per month, right? But they don't really teach you how much coverage that you need. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick example on how you can determine on how much coverage you personally need. So could I draw on this or no? Like, could I pull up like a chalkboard or something? It's cool. No, it's fine. I can just explain it. If anything, just if you guys want, just write down, like, if you guys have a paper or something like that, just write down $1,000, and then you can just put a dash and then per month. So if somebody makes $1,000 a month, they need $120,000 of coverage. Now, how do you get that amount? That same $1,000, we want to replace it for the next 10 years. So you multiply the 1,000 times 12,000, and you multiply that 12,000 times 10. That's where you get the 120,000. So if somebody makes $1,000 per month, they need $120,000 of coverage. If you make $3,000 a month, just multiply that 120,000 times 360. That's how much coverage you need. So that's a really good way on how you can identify on how much coverage you personally need. Now, then once you find out the need for how much coverage you personally need, right? After that, now you can determine how much you need versus how much you can afford. Because obviously, if everybody had $1 million, if life insurance was free, everybody would have millions and millions of dollars of insurance. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, when that's one of the biggest factors when it comes down to it. You always want to find out, because a factor in it is health, age, if you're a smoker or not, if you're taking prescribed medicine, regardless on what it is, right? That's always a huge factor as well. But identifying how much money you make a month, multiplying, or just the ideal annual income times 10. Or one of the biggest things that I always ask to my clients is, if anything were to happen to the significant other, how much do they personally need per month? And then again, replace that for the next 10 years, and that would be a good start at that point. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And we'll have to play with the jam board sometime in the future, but I think there is a drawing app on here. I just never used it before.
It's all good.
I did see somewhere that some insurance companies require a health exam. Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, so some insurance companies do provide an exam as well. Ideally, if they do it, is because they're just trying to see if the individual can qualify for a different quote. Because if you do, and with our policies, you need a minimum of 150,000 of coverage in order for you to be able to see if you can do a physical. Now, once you have 150,000 of coverage that you're trying to qualify for, then it would require for you to do a physical. If you're doing up until 300,000, then that's when it doesn't require to do physicals. Now, I know that just kind of contradicted itself, right? We have a term now product, and then we have a custom advantage product. The custom advantage part involves the physical, and it starts at 150,000 of coverage. And the term now part, you can go as low as like 15,000 worth of life insurance, and then you can go up to 300,000 with no physical required. Some people, they don't like needles, so it's just kind of like, if you don't like needles and you're not trying to do physicals, it's cool. You can get up until 300,000 with no physicals required.
I just want to add to what Oscar said and touch a little bit on the relationship side of our business. Being a tribal member myself and speaking with other people that are in tribal communities, whether it's in mine or in tribal communities around the world, people feel a little more comfortable building a relationship with me, talking about their personal finances. I'm able to help them kind of manage what their goals are, even help them manage what maybe their children's goals are. And then doing even things like this. We do this out the kindness of our hearts, and our goal is to educate as many people as possible about these services. Whether you work with us or you work with someone else, we just want to make sure people have information available. There's just some people that you'll meet in the world, and you'll ask them, have you heard of an IRA, retirement account, or any type of any accounts outside of like a checking and savings account? And they haven't heard of those. And so having that connection and that community and that sense of responsibility for your community, definitely those type of things go a long way for sure. So.
I believe Bonnie also had a question as well. I can go ahead and answer that for you. And I really appreciate you sharing that as well, Denise. And yeah, it's a huge deal because that's how our company's been built, based off of just word of mouth referral. And the fact that we the way that we go from one person to another, it's that credibility aspect that we when we get referred out to other people. But Bonnie, to answer your question, what kind of fees does our company charge for the sit downs? We don't charge fees. For us to be able to give this information to people, for us to provide them with a personal plan for themselves, we don't charge fees. The only thing that we provide them, the only thing that we do charge them for is for their specific service. So I hope that answers your question, though.
I thought it was interesting this year. I also learned about helping minors invest early. So like for my nephews, we're in the process of setting up their UTMA accounts. So I don't know if that's something too, like Primerica, if you guys get into that or not, but I just thought it was really cool that, before these young kids can even like really build up their financial literacy, you can already start investing for them, either in their education or just generally, so that they can like adopt that plan or whatever once they become of age. So yeah, do you guys have that?
Yeah, we have trust funds that we can do for people, and I believe it should work. Like, what would you call it? I'm so sorry.
UTMA, UTMA.
UTMA.
UTMA, and I'm doing it through New York, so I don't know, some are, state specific, so.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I haven't personally heard about those accounts, so I'll definitely look into them. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, a trust fund is definitely something that we do for minors. Ideally, they may not be working right now, so it's just money you can just put in there, but it does grow, which is something huge. And one of the biggest things I always tell people, and we discussed this last time as well, is that it is a discipline that you need to develop. But putting away money and stuff like that, obviously, like once we get it, it's kind of like, okay, cool, let's splurge a little bit on ourselves, which I'm not saying don't do that, right? But at the same time, it does bring a huge reward by you setting aside some money, but it does come with discipline. being able to do that and being able to teach that to younger folks as well. Actually, from what I know, the retirement plans, once you have an income, you can actually start it, even if you're like 16, 17 years old. But once you do have an income, it is something that you can have. And if an individual like yourself wants to open up an account for one of their nephews, right? It is something that you can do as well. And you just won't be able to fund more than what you earn. I know that's a really silly way to put a cap on it, but that's the cap that they have. So if you make $50,000 a year, you can't put more than $50,000 a year into that uh, fund for that nephew, for an example. So that's how that would work.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
But
And
to piggyback off the financial literacy for children, I just discovered this myself, Shelly, but as much as I love this booklet, they have a How Money Works for Kids booklet now too, that I'm just now recently trying to understand and read and figure out the best way to get that information to even younger generations. So it's a great tool. Definitely as much financial literacy we can learn at a younger age, the better decisions we'll make as we get older. So I'll have to share that guidebook with you too. I'm sure that you'd love it.
yes, that would be awesome. And of course, yeah, we hope to have more events where we can really maybe dive even deeper into like some of these practices of how we can exactly change that mindset of investing, and there's really a lot of ways you can get very excited about bonds and investing and all these things, and even like starting a Upma account for my nephews every time they have a birthday or any type of celebration. It's kind of exciting that we get to stick money that we'd otherwise give to them as a check or something like that, but it just goes directly into their account for their future. So it can feel a lot better than these just quick instant expenditures, and those things kind of disappear fast. So
I agree. I wrote a lot about that in my research project about how parents with adult children still like to give gifts too. And that could be a way as a parent of an adult child, you could be contributing to their IRA accounts too, to help them maximize their annual contributions. So we have to be creative with our gift giving, candles and lotion are great. But if you could send it somewhere else and make it more beneficial so we don't have to work forever and we can retire comfortably, why not?
yeah. Oh, and it looks like Bonnie was able to put in the chat the 2.2 million the 22-year-old saves, is that stable or based on the market?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great question. So yeah, it was actually based off the market. And again, the longer an individual is in the market, because in that scenario, from 22 to the age of 67, they would be in the market for 45 years. So again, when you're in the market for a longer period of time, it's like you going up a fleet of steps with a yo-yo. It's gonna gradually keep going up, and you may have some months where it like dips. May go up and down. You may have some years where it may go up, you may go down. Just like I'm sure you guys have heard people say, my 401k this month or my 401k this year didn't do so good. It wasn't performing so well. That's one of the things that they're not really aware of. It's more of like what's inside the 401k, what's inside your portfolio, and that's the accounts, the actual, like how you were saying, Shelly, about the bonds and the different stocks that an individual can buy. That's why, like, when somebody has it through their employer, they're only limited to what the employer can provide, and in most cases, it's very limited. But when you go with a company like that's private, like Primerica, right? You get 10,000 different options of what type of funds your money can be put into. And with those type of funds, that it's not being managed by me, it's being managed by a professional that they get paid when you get paid. So when your interest goes up, they get paid. When your interest goes down and you lose money, they lose money too. And honestly, if my hard work money is being put into these type of accounts, that's how it better be. You know what I mean? Like if I lose, they better lose too. Like that's how it better be. And if we gain, hey, we all gain together. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, to answer your question, that one was just based off the market. But again, going back into the aspect of the longer time frame you have, that was a 45-year time frame. So the longer time frame you have in the market, the better performance you can get on average. So I hope that answers your question.
Do we, yeah, just have a minute left, but I just want to say, like, thank you guys very much. I'm very excited we were able to put on these meetings, and I look forward to doing some more in the very near future. And yeah, and just want to put a plug in too that you guys had mentioned that Primerica also trains and hires people. So if there's any students here or anyone who's interested in that, there are job opportunities, and always a great way to learn more about financial wellness and literacy. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Anyone
Thank
you
you,
want to
guys.
jump in?
It's great to be here in this space. Thank you for joining. Thank you for allowing us to speak. Please reach out if you have any follow-up questions or if you want to meet with us. We'd love to do so. We can take a phone call or we can schedule a Zoom. And there's so much to know. And as you go through all of the pages, mostly pictures, as Oscar suggested. As you go through the booklet, if you have questions about some of the other content that we didn't cover today, please know that we're happy to kind of go into details about that with you guys too. So it's great to be here.